Hello, analytics team. This is Kristen Mucci, and I would like to welcome you to our May 11th Analytics Demonstration Showcase. This session has been designed to provide a forum to showcase the great demos our colleagues are developing and delivering to delight our customers. And they do this by demonstrating the must-have-it value of IBM Cloud and the Watson Data Platform, and how it comes together to address a user as well as a market's specific business needs. Please note that all demonstration materials and assets will be cataloged within our Cloud Concierge Solution Showcase. And this platform provides you with a centralized self-service catalog of top worldwide demo sales assets. And then the next day, a replay of the session will also be posted in Box. And both links can be found in our meeting invitation. And as we go through today's demo, as always, we welcome you to post any questions you may have in the chat, and we will also open for Q&A at the end of the presentation. So with that, today marks a first for this demo showcase call, and we are fortunate to have our first IBM business partner, Third Eye, join us to share their AI-based knowledge management system solution that they recently delivered to one of their customers. But before we dive into Third Eye's story and solution demo, I have asked David Zyla, one of our analytics channel architects, to join us and help introduce Third Eye by first providing a brief overview of our IBM Business Partner Channel and the great value that this can and does bring to tech sellers and our customers alike. So thank you, David and DJ and the Third Eye team for meeting with us all today. And as we walk through that Third Eye demo and story in just a few minutes, again, we always ask for you to take this opportunity to sit back and think about how you too can leverage this asset as well as our IBM Partner Network to provide targeted and provocative demos to your customers. So with that, David, I'm going to go ahead and turn the meeting over to you.
Perfect. Thank you kindly, Kristen. Thank you for having me on and giving me the platform to spend a couple minutes with everybody today. And also sincere thanks for having a business partner, Third Eye, join. I think it's important to speak to what you're doing here because you're embracing the strategy of IBM. So I'm not going to take up a lot of your time today because I understand that you're here to actually see product demonstrations. But there's three key concepts that I want to share with everybody today. The first one being it's one team. It's one IBM team. So I know we've been talking about partnerships for a long time, but we really have to take a step back and consider what that means. Whether it's a partner-led opportunity or an IBM opportunity engaging a partner, it's all the same team. And so IBM is moving full-heartedly on this strategy, and we have a dedicated team of resources. So I hope you're aware that through Vlad Stoyanovsky, we have several departments, several groups within the partner channel. So we have resellers, distributors, the ESA team is way looking at embedding our technology in more and more solutions. So we have a group of technical resources, pre-sales, architects in place to support our business partners. And so it's important to keep that in mind that our group treats business partners as part of IBM. So in terms of sharing collateral, IP, we really want to make sure that we treat IBM partners like IBMers. Second point to consider partners is that it is about reach. So IBM is very large. We have some strategic relationships with the key customers, but partners bring to the table a lot of the relationships that they have in unique verticals and unique spaces. So it's important to consider reaching out to partners if there's a particular segment or a particular geography that you want to reach out to, because business partners have a lot of good relationships that we can foster together. The third point that I want to touch on is depth of skills and expertise, and that's what we're looking at with Third Eye today. So this really reinforces the journey that we're on with regards to data first method and Watson Data Platform. So the data first method is the realization that we're not just selling a DB2 or a Cognos or some other technology widget. We're really focused on selling solutions. That's what the market demands and expects today. So as we go through this methodology, I expect to see more partners building fantastic solutions like what we're going to see today. And it's in our best interest to be aware of them so we know when we can take advantage of them and use them in our opportunities. Similarly with Watson Data Platform, we want this to be an ecosystem where we have more partners building solutions on this platform. So I expect to see a lot more development there. So again, the three main concepts are one team, reach, and depth. And with that, Kristen, I'd like to thank you very much for having Third Eye present, and I hope to see many more business partners on these sessions. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, David. Really appreciate your time and that great overview. It helps really help us kick off and get excited about next what Third Eye is going to show. So DJ and Anjan and team, I'm now going to go ahead and pass the meeting session control over to you, and it's all yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christian, for having us on this platform. This is such an honor for all of us to be here today. So to start with, I want to state the problem definition. Mainly, enterprises nowadays are very global. They have many different offices around the world. And in these offices, there are many employees who speak and work in many different languages. So knowledge management is becoming a problem for such global scale enterprises, which is all too common these days. So we had a lot of iterations of knowledge management systems come and go in the last couple of decades. But now AI is actually coming to the help of knowledge management systems. And this product or the solution that we have created for one of our clients, Inter-American Development Bank, is an answer to use to showcase such AI-based technologies for solving knowledge management problems. Basically, going over the wow card, I think you are very much well averse of, you know about how the wow card looks like. It's mainly defined or is mainly addressed towards the regular employees of an enterprise who are looking to connect with any subject matter experts over any topics that they're currently working on. From an IT perspective, it's always a challenge for the IT personnel to actually process through all the documents that are lying around across the enterprise to come up with a centralized knowledge base. So this solution actually solves these kind of problems. We will be showing all these technologies as we go, as we show the demonstration, and we will show as to how we actually stitched together the entire solution using Watson's suite of technologies. With that, shall we go to the next slide? So a little bit about me. I'm DJ Das, CEO and founder of Third Eye Data. Third Eye is a big data and data science company. We have been working out of the Bay Area since 2010, and we have been focusing on the big data even before the term big data was a buzzword. And we are still continuing on focusing on big data when big data is not a buzzword anymore. I have been doing lots of startups, typical Bay Area kind of profile. I've been joined by Anjan, who is working out of our Kolkata office in India. He will also talk about himself. Shall we go to the next slide? Thank you. So the agenda today is we are going to take an approach of kind of trying to peel the onion. We start with showing how the user interacts with the system. We then delve deeper into how the system comes up with responses to the user's interactions. So we'll give you a demo first, and then we'll look under the covers. And finally, we'll talk a bit about us also. Next slide, please. Thank you. Yep. So in terms of the goals that IDB, the Inter-American Development Bank, had, they are a kind of a World Bank body where they take funding from various nations like US, Mexico, Japan, UK, and then they fund many projects in Central American countries. So as you can see, they have many offices around the world. Their headquarters are in Washington, D.C., and everybody speaks many different languages and works on many different languages. So knowledge management was a severe problem there. And that's where we created this BD project for them to solve these problems. Next slide, please. technical goals of this project was to enable anybody who works in the company to identify a particular subject matter expert on the topic that they're currently working on. For example, let's say they have an office in DC, in Washington, DC, and a person wants to find out about who worked on a irrigation project in Chile. The natural course of action would have been this person would have been making many phone calls, talking to the people, trying to dig through the archives, and trying to get to a person who has some knowledge about that irrigation project in Chile. But that's such a problem, and that's the one that we're trying to solve. Technically, what we also try to do is create a deep profile of all the people that we found when we extracted all of the entities from all these documents that we worked with. And as the user is asking the questions, we would rank the people or the persons and identify the SMEs for the particular topic that the user is asking a question about. And overall, but mainly, we had to make sure that the architecture that we have developed is simple and easy to use. Next slide, please. With that, I would like to bring Anjan on board, who can show you the demo and walk you through the technical details. Anjan?
Thanks, TJ. First of all, good afternoon and good morning to everyone. We're really pleased to be here to present you this BD demo. So DJ already explained what was our business goal, what was our technical goal. So, and also DJ told that we are going to follow pillar onion strategy to explain every steps, how we solve the problem, how we overcome the challenges. So before going to all the details, we want to showcase the chatbot application that we built for Inter-American Development Bank. Let's jump into the chatbot.
So this chatbot is currently hosted on the Bluemix cloud, and IDB people have access to this, and they use this chatbot to interact with the BD system.
Okay, so this is what the chatbot looks like here on the top right corner. You have the option to change the languages that you will use to interact with the system. And DJ also mentioned that we have multilingual people working on Inter-American Development Bank. So they can actually interact with the system using their preferred language. That's why we have this language selection option. And also, if someone will come to this page for the very first time, if they don't understand what to do, what not to do, so they can actually click on the help button. And as a part of that project, we actually extracted information on 3 sectors, that is water, transportation, and energy for all the countries they're operating. And we also provided some of the sample questions that user can actually ask to this chatbot. And we also tried to reduce their effort. You can simply click over there and that question will actually come to here. And now you can interact with the system. And as part of this system, what we need to know the particular sector name and the country name. So if any person will actually provide us these 2 information, that is the sector and country, it is going to hit our backend system, pull the data, and it is going to show on the right side of this window. And these are the person name from the Inter-American Development Bank. They are actually the employee. And if any user actually click on the name, they will be able to see all the project on which this person actually worked on, what was the sector, and also if they have any kind of publication. So I will come to that, what kind of information this page can show. And also you can see here, we are actually scoring them. So we have some sort of mathematical calculation that we're running on the background, and we are giving some percentile scores based on the number of projects they work, number of publications they published, or number of based on the number of tweets. And the one thing I want to talk about here,
Anjan,
for
can
example,
Anjan, can you show Johan Mellinger's JSON, because that's more complete.
yes,
The second
yes,
person,
yes, sure.
the second person, yeah.
Yes, sure. So here you can see this person worked on this many projects, and he has one publication, and we have actually 3 tweets from him. So this is the complete data that we had at that point of time when we extracted the data. And another good thing is, like, if anyone wants to know what is this project, they can simply click on the hyperlink or the project title, and it will actually take them to that IDB site where you will have all the details, all the documents. And at the same time, if you click on the publication, it will take you to the publication page. If you click on the tweets, it will take you to the Twitter page. So like that. And now I want to talk about the AI-based system. When we told the AI, it is an AI-based knowledge management system, what do we mean by AI-based? So here you can see, we can actually ask, let's try with some different language. Here, let me select Spanish. And I am not very good at Spanish, so actually I already prepared a question. So what does this mean? That I am looking for someone who worked in water sector. So if I copy here and paste it here, you can see it is actually responding in Spanish. And it is actually asking, okay, we understand you are looking for someone from water sector. Please mention a country name. And now if I put a country name here, so it will actually pull the data from the backend system, and it's going to show it over here. And now you can already get an idea that we are using a natural language processing engine on the backend. We'll come to that, to the details, what services we have used. So you can see the power of this NLP. Like, you can ask this chatbot whatever things actually you want, like hello, and people can simply interact with the system just to pass time. And another thing is, like, one of the best thing that I would suggest, for example, you just saw that I changed the language from Spanish to English. Then even if you will ask something in Spanish, it will still understand and it will respond you back in English. So if you understand English and if you want to interact with the system in some different language, right now we have the language option only for Spanish and Portuguese, and you can simply ask any of these three languages to interact with the system. And
so the main idea here was, we really wanted to make sure that the users can query the system using a simple English or that language sentences. They don't have to know any querying language. They don't have to know SQL or an analytical querying language, anything else. They can just ask plain English language or Spanish or Portuguese language questions. And the NLP takes care of understanding that breaking it down to its entities, understanding that what's the question about, understanding who the sector, understanding the country, and then coming back to you with the results.
Yeah, and even if, for example, if you didn't find any person or SME, and you are frustrated, and you just write like, are you dumb? So it actually understood that, okay, you are frustrated. Just tell me what you are looking for. So you can see that just DJ told you like what one of the business goal was to IADB asked us they want a very, very, very simple interface to interact with the system, so that everyone, irrespective of technical background or business background, anyone can use the system. And that's why actually we used this words and conversation services, NLP services from Watson and Bluemix. So let me go to the next slide. And okay, so when we're given the technical goal and business goal, we actually explored the Watson and Bluemix services, all of them, almost all of them, and we actually tried to find out what are the services that we can use to achieve the target. And we fully leveraged the NLP services, the Watson services, the database services, and then we actually come up with this solution. And let me dive into the technologies, what we have used. The first one is Alchemy language. This is to extract the entities, and by entity, I particularly mean the person name from a URL or from a document. Next is conversation. So conversation, we have used it to interact with the user. Next is document conversion. I'll show you that they have lots of PDF documents in their website where they mentioned all the details about their project, all the person's name over there. So we have to extract those informations from those PDF document and feed that into Alchemy language to get the person's entity from there. And next is language translator, that you already know, and I have already shown you that what its capability. Obviously, IBM Bluemix platform. And also we have used a Python Flask API to build some kind of API, so that actually you can hit that API, it actually runs some process in the background and get the data for you. Node.js application, that is this is where we designed our front-end application. And this is the DB. We actually the requirement of IDB was to store data in both structured and unstructured data. So for structured data, we have used DB. This is because if some person from IDB have knowledge about relational database, they can actually query the database and get the result. And next one is that IBM CloudNDB. This is a fantastic NoSQL database, and we actually stored all the unstructured information in the CloudNDB. And we have used Insight for Twitter services to pull the Twitter data. IDB provided us the Twitter handler information, and we use those handler information to extract the data from Twitter and put it in the CloudNDB. And we also use some of the Cloud Foundry app and boilerplate app, and one of them is Node.js. Node.js, this is where we have hosted the front-end application. At the same time, Watson Analytics that we used for some analytical purpose, Node.js boilerplate application for live streaming data from Twitter. And we also explored some of the technologies that we actually did not mention here, but we have worked on this. For example, Watson Knowledge Studio, where you can build a custom NLP model and you can train on some URL, because IDB website was not trained under Alchemy language, so it was not able to extract the entities. So we actually used Watson Knowledge Studio also. But if I put all the technologies and services, in this slide, it would be very, it will become very unreadable for you. Anyway.
Anjan, there's a question that I'll answer. So Fen Bai was asking about how did we train the chatbot. So Fen, basically, Watson Conversation, the way it actually works is that you have to train it. You have to tell it what are the entities and what are the intents. And based on that, you kind of come up with a training, you go over a training process so that it can start to understand what are you relating to. So that's the process that we went through. The training process was the one that takes the longest time. But so please know that this is not just kind of keyword searching or something. This is not a keyword search and answering kind of a tool. You can actually ask it questions that you don't have a keyword for, and it will understand what you actually mean by that. You can misspell, and it will know that, oh, well, you're trying to spell something else, and you're trying to mean something else. So this is a pure NLP-based system, not a keyword search and extract kind of a system. Thanks, Frank. I saw that. Yes, Anjan, you can carry on.
Okay. So thanks, TJ, for answering the question. Next, I want to start with the process flow. So what was our process? So obviously, the first objective was to create a very simple UI application or user interface, which can actually interact with all this system and get the data as per user query. So we actually hosted it on a SDK for Node.js Cloud Foundry application, and we actually built it and optimized it for all the devices. You can chat it using your mobile, you can interact with the system using your tablet, you can interact using your laptop or PC. And what this front end actually does, it actually interacts with the Watson conversation via language translator, so that whatever input you will get from the user, it will actually identify the language type. And another thing is that the Watson conversation we built on English language, so whatever the input is, it actually translates the input to English language, send it to Watson conversation, get that response back, and send it to front-end user as per the language they selected. And once that Watson conversation will understand that user is asking for some information, then it actually hit the backend application, which is the core of our application. This backend application actually interact with the background databases and retrieve the information and send it to the front-end user. And also here are the sources. I'll come to the sources. What are the source? These are the publication URL, project document, publication document that we are feeding into document conversion to convert it to text from PDF. And then we are sending it to Alchemy API to extract the person's entity and also keyword, thing like that. Because right now, when I actually showed you that conversation, I mentioned the sector and the country name explicitly. But what if a user will actually search with some keyword and we have to identify that keyword that is related to some sector? So that information actually Alchemy API can extract from the document. So what are the keywords? For example, if we have a project document related to transportation sector, so bus, truck, car. So I'm just giving an example. So these are the keywords that is related to transportation. So we also stored all those kind of data in our Cloud NDB. Now, next,
I want to just want to clarify something in the previous slide.
Okay.
So what I wanted to emphasize here is that there are two kind of processes actually which are running here. One of them is a real-time process, and the second one is a batch process. So the real-time process is what you just saw, basically when the user is asking a question, and in real time, the system looks up its index of all people whom it has pre-processed and then ranks them in real time and sends back the response. So that's the real-time part of the system. But to enable the real-time part of the system, there's a lot of batch processing that we had to do in the past. So that's what Anjan was telling about, that we had to process all the documents from various sources using Alchemy API and extract the entities out of these documents and then create kind of per person based JSON files with an assimilation of or with a summation of all information about that particular person in that JSON file and keep it in a proper indexed manner so that the real-time process can pick it up and answer questions based on the user's request. So the two systems or the two processes work for each other. The pre-processing is required to extract the entities, and the real-time is the one that uses the entities and gives back a response to the user as per the question asked. And wanted to just emphasize, please feel free to ask us questions whenever you want to. You can ask us in the chat box, or you could ask us over, just unmute yourself and ask the questions too. That's all fine. Yes, Anjan, we could go next.
Okay, thanks, CJ. So next is the high-level data flow. So here, what is happening? So first, we are extracting data from sources that is from online projects and publications that are listed under idb.org websites, the staff directory which is listed under idb.org website, and I'll come what those exact information, and obviously this IDB Twitter feed, and we wrote custom Java application to crawl some of the data which were not able to extract properly. That is because the idb.org website was not semantic, and when I mean it is not semantic, that means for a particular piece of information you will find in a particular tag under one page, but if we'll go to the next page, we'll find the same information under a different tag name. And by tag name, this is a bit technical, but whoever will understand the HTML tag concept, it would be easier for them to understand what I want to mean. And we wrote the Java application, and while we are extracting information or downloading the document on IBM VM, we are feeding those documents into document conversion, and most of them are PDF document. And once those documents are converted to text using document conversion, we fed them to Alchemy API to extract the entities, keywords, concept, everything. And once those informations are extracted, we loaded that into CloudNDB. And you can see here we mentioned the person JSON. So DJ actually just told about it. That is, our objective was to create a profile of a person. That means whoever the people who actually worked on different projects, different publications, their tweets about their works. So those kind of profile. And the next, what we did, we used DashDB to aggregate the data. And why do we need to aggregate the data? That is because, okay, so I want to I want to stop here. I just got a question. That is, yes, the Alchemy API, it is already deprecated, but the thing is now a more stronger version came up into the market. That is called NLP, Natural Language Processing. And it will actually already overcome some of the problems, or you can say some of the features that didn't have in the Alchemy API. One of the example is targeted sentiment. For example, if you write a sentence and if you highlight or mark some word and you want to understand that just for that word, what are the user's sentiment, So those things are particularly very helpful for marketing purpose. That is a fantastic feature that I have found in the NLP. And even if the Alchemy API service is not offering it is not offered right now, but still it will be there till March 2018. So we're going to replace this Alchemy API with natural language understanding. I mean NLU.
Yeah, when we actually started this. When we started this project last October, Alchemy API was the default one to use. But yes, going forward, we will move to the NLP that Watson is now supporting.
Yeah, so that is natural language understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Okay, thanks for your question. Sorry. Okay, so I was talking about why we aggregated data in the DashDB. That is because when we profiled our data as a JSON in the CloudNDB, at the same time, we want to store a summarized information per person, that how many projects that person worked on, how many publications that person has, how many tweets that person already did. So all this kind of aggregated information we stored into the DashDB. And also there was a requirement for our client, like if any person will have RDBMS knowledge, they will want to actually interact with the system. And this is where we did, this is related to storage and analytics. And next is NLP and person conversation, language translator. So this is what our front-end system is. So our front-end system actually interact with the language translator. And from language translator, the request has been sent to Watson conversation. And by understanding the intent and the entity that from the user input, the Watson conversation actually sent the result back to natural language translator, and it actually sent back the response to the front-end application. So next, okay. So next is the architecture diagram. It is not properly visible from the slide, so that's why I just wanted to show it from here. So here we have that IBM software VM, Java 8 installed on it, where we wrote all the console application. And when I mean the Java console application, that means to extract the information from project URL, download the documents, project documents, publication documents from the URL, feed those documents into the document conversion, and from the document conversion, feed those TXT file into Alchemy API, and store that information into Cloud and DB. And at the same time, here you can see we actually have two kind of sources. One is project and publication URLs. Another one is projects and publication documents. So let me give you an example of so this is one of the project document you can see here, and you can see lots of persons name are mentioned over here, and we used document conversion to convert this PDF into text file and fed that text file into Alchemy API to pull all this person entity. And this is one of the publication document. This is in English. You can see the person's name are mentioned here. So we actually extracted all this information. And another source I want to show you, because that is very relevant and one of the very important. Here I showed you earlier, we have IDB stuff directory as source, and these are nothing but URL. Now, why we need this information? Because here, when I showed you this names, all of this person are not from IDB or Inter-American Development Bank. But when user will query, they will expect someone from Inter-American Development Bank. Here you can see this is some person. They might be from different vendor who actually worked on a particular project, for example, road construction, or you know, like water treatment plant installation. So we have to match whether this person's name are really listed over here or not. So this is how, okay, I just want to stop. I actually got another question here.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Yeah, we had IDB did not have access to Watson Explorer, the WEX, and that's why we could not actually use Watson Explorer's functionality, which we could have, and it could have been much more easier using Watson Explorer. But one thing that we had to do is that the Watson Knowledge Studio was really required to be used. The Alchemy by itself comes trained on the Wikipedia and other such information that you have on the web. But when you run Alchemy against some new website, which is like the IADB website, it may not understand all the entities of that website. So the extraction of Alchemy, so the entity extraction by Alchemy on the IADB website was not very perfect. So we had to use Watson Knowledge Studio to create models, which are custom models for the IADB website, and use that model with Alchemy so that Alchemy could get us better responses. Unfortunately, the scope of this POC did not involve training the custom model that we had created and then deploying it in for all the other documents that you actually work on in using Alchemy. So we did not take it too far, but we did create custom models. We saw the increase in the effectiveness of Alchemy API in extracting relevant entities by using the custom model. Yeah, yes, Mark, definitely. in this day of the internet and the cloud, 6 months, like 5 months is an old time, is a lot of time. So yes, now whatever we have on the Watson Cloud, things would have been much more easier now. And that's actually one of our proposals to IADB, that, hey, we could actually upgrade the system, make it much more simpler. We don't have to use all these custom things that we have built for you, and kind of do it much more seamlessly using the latest suite of Watson services.
Okay. Thanks, DJ, for responding that question. And I just want to briefly talk about this, and when DJ actually meant Alchemy API was not able to extract some of the information that we're looking for. That means this, for example, operation number or environmental and social impact category. But when we actually worked on Watson Knowledge Studio, it really did very well. And we actually deployed that Watson Knowledge Studio model in the Alchemy API. But as DJ told, at that time it was out of scope, so we really was not able to use that custom model. So let me jump to that architecture diagram.
Yeah, in the interest of time, it's kind of 11:48 already.
Yeah, sorry. So next we stored that unstructured document in the IBM Cloud End, and eventually we move those data to DB in aggregated format. And what we have is a custom Java application which actually pull the information to create the person profile in the Cloud DB itself, because a number of projects a particular customer work on are not same for every person. So those data are highly unstructured. That's why we have to write a Java application to fit those data back into Cloud DB and create person's profile in the Cloud DB. And I'll show how that looks like actually. And also at the same time, we actually fed the Twitter data into Cloud DB. And next here you can see like we have this front-end application which is actually interacting with a custom web application that we already talked about, that Python Flask application. And it actually interacts with this language translator and Watson conversation to respond back to the user as per their query. And next is the NLP part. Here, I just told that the front-end application actually uses the language translator. So whenever a user first requests, it actually goes to language translators. It detects the type of input, then convert it to English. If it is non-English, then send it to conversation. Conversation actually find out the response from its dialog and send it back to language translator. And language translator eventually send that response back to the front-end application. And next is the sources. The sources was the online projects, online publications, URL, the document that I already shown. Next is staff directory. The staff directory we need to whether a person particularly belong to a IDB or not. Next is the Twitter data feed.
I think we can go fast on these slides because we have already spoken about this.
Okay. And these are the things that I already told, that we fed the document-to-document conversion. Eventually, we fed those to Alchemy API and stored the data into Cloud DB. And from Cloud DB, we stored the data into the DB. And here are the person JSON. We actually embedded it here, but I want to give a better look into it. So here you can see that we defined the person's name as...
Anjan, can you show that slide first?
Yes.
I want to explain how the JSON structure is.
Yeah, sure.
Next slide.
Okay.
So basically, at the end of all this pre-processing and everything that we do, what we get? We just basically get a JSON structure. And this JSON structure has got all the information about a particular person. So as you can see, at the top, we have some metadata information about that person. Then we have a listing of all the projects that this person has been a part of. So we process all that projects documentation from the IADB website and other sources and made this listing of which all projects this person has been a part of, and even have some metadata information about each one of those projects, like what was the value or dollar value of this project, what were the sectors of this project, and stuff like that. We also have a listing of all the publications that this person has always published, because publications are also on the IADB website, but in a PDF document format, and we had to pre-process those things too. And lastly, we had a listing of all the social media interactions of this person that he or she has done over the web. Basically, when a user asks a question and we actually then kind of scan through all these JSON files for this particular person and try to understand who's an SME, we also do a ranking. And that ranking happens in real time, and the ranking is based on certain criteria. For example, if the person has published more documents, then the person has a higher weightage. Then we give it a higher weightage. If the person has done more projects, that's got the next higher weightage. Tweets or social media interactions, a bit lower weightage. But then we add up all the weightages and then come up with a final rank score. Basically, the intent here is to identify an SME from a list of people or persons JSON that we have there. And the identification process is based on weightages. How much work or how much authority this person has on that particular topic that's been asked in the user question. So the highest weightage is for publications, next is for projects, third is for social media interactions. We could actually extend this beyond this too. We could include like LinkedIn profiles, we could include Facebook profiles, we could actually integrate with an enterprise knowledge system and understand all the work that the person has done internally. Since this was a POC, they did not let us touch their internal systems. We had to just work with data that's out there in the open. Now, shall we go to the next screen? Yeah. So now you can explain the JSON structure of an actual person whom we actually created based on all the work that we did in the backend.
Yeah. So here you can see the person's name we actually made as the ID field, and DJ told already that when we are searching the databases, we kind of indexing all the data, and that is based on all this person's name to perform first operation. And here we can see we have all the project related details listed over here. And so these are the list that actually goes on and on. Okay, this person did not have any publication, but this person has tweet. We are storing this information, and we also only stored the relevant information. Those are needed for our project, but actually in real life we got lots of information using Alchemy API inside for Twitter, using those services. So next,
one feedback we got from the client was that this assimilation of all information about a particular person in a JSON file was the biggest value that we actually provided here, because never before IDB had such a broad and deep information about their own people. And of course, since this was a POC, this was just based on the sectors and based on the documents that we had actually had access to. But now they are planning to roll this out in the whole enterprise. When they do that, the value would just multiply. So at the end of the day, what we get is an assimilation of all the work that a particular employee has done in the company and the relevancy of that work to any other future work that the company might have. That's the business value that this whole system provides. Yes, Anjan, carry on.
Okay. Thanks, DJ. So we almost reached at the end of our presentation. So we actually started with the front-end application. We told you how it is interacting with different Bluemix and Watson services, how the data are actually being processed, using the document conversion, Alchemy API services, how we are actually storing the data, and what is the format. And next is any questions you have, you can ask us now.
And if you have time, we could also actually show you the Bluemix cloud setup that we have and all the systems that are running. We could also show you that, but maybe some other time. We may not have time this time around.
Yeah, and another thing I really want to mention here that we used that IBM software VM, and the speed, it is like beyond imagine, because what we found that IDB server was hosted on a 8 MB Tomcat server, and when we are sending that multiple requests almost at 400 500 Mbps per second, it actually got stuck at point, the service was down. So that is one of the very fantastic thing I actually worked on. So at last I want to give my introduction. I actually work in Third Eye as a senior software engineer, and I'm from the big data cloud DWBI analytics background, and I already worked for several Fortune 500 companies like Anthem, Capital One, John Hancock. And my expertise is in the Bluemix and Watson services, and I am going for Watson certification this month. So this is so that's about me. And if you have any question, yes, we are here. We already got some questions during our presentation, and also now I actually like to hand it over to DJ to talk about us. If you don't have any question, but if you have any question, you can always stop us and ask the question, even after end of this presentation.
Just want to mention that Third Eye is committed to the IBM cloud, and we have set up a COE for the IBM cloud. We are getting our engineers certified on the IBM cloud because of our commitment to the path that IBM has taken. We firmly believe that this is a very fast-growing area, and we do have the understanding, expertise, and knowledge to actually make things happen. So we have been doing big data for a long time now, so that kind of gives us an upper hand in understanding technologies and how it relates to various cloud platforms. Can you just go to the next slide? Anjan? Yeah. So we do have, over the time, we have been able to get good customers in the last. Can you just go back, Anjan? Yeah. So
yes, Stephen.
Yeah, in the last 5 years that we have been able to acquire, these are some of the marquee customers. That's not a complete listing, but the current projects like the Nimble Storage and IDB's ones that are going on. Microsoft has been a customer for us for a long time. So yeah, all in all, we are data geeks, love to work with data, and the whole team here in the US and in India are all kind of data focused. That's all we do for a living. Thank you so much for coming to this webinar today and giving us an opportunity to talk about this exciting AI-based knowledge management system that we built for IDB. If you have any questions, any comments at any point of time, we are still here. You have my phone number, you have my email ID, you have my Twitter handle. You can always talk to us at any point of time, and we'll be more than happy to answer any questions. Again, thank you so much for everything. Kristen?
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, DJ, Anjan, Aldrin, Santush. We very much appreciate your participation and again for sharing your solution demo experience and expertise with our IBM Analytics team. You know, it was great to kind of see that powerful demo up front and you know, go through the layers of the onion, so to speak, as you said, to kind of understand how you arrived at that solution and what was underneath the covers. So I think I can speak for everyone in saying it was of great value to hear about, you know, your engagement with IADB and, you know, how you were able to bring together IBM Cloud, the Watson data platform, as well as AI. So bring that all together to address, you know, a pressing business need to find, you know, subject matter experts across, you know, the globe, and how it, you know, was able to really deliver true, you know, measurable business value to your customer. So another great example of what the platform can bring, and we very much appreciate you giving us a peek into, you know, your world and your client base today. And you know, with that, I want to thank everyone on the call, you know, for participation. If anyone listening in today would like to participate in an upcoming session, do reach out to me, Krista Mucci, and, you know, don't forget that demo contest underway. I look forward to meeting again with you all in a couple of weeks' time. And as always, you know, many thanks for everyone's time, especially Third Eye today. And we look forward to regrouping again in a couple of weeks. So goodbye and have a great day, team.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much, Christian.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a nice day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.